A man goes for a walk in the park. On his walk, he sees two men sitting on a park bench and looking very down. "What's wrong?" he asks them. One of the men looks up at the man and lets out a long sigh. "Take a seat, and I'll tell you." Curious, he sits down next to the two men. "The paint's wet," the man says. Chuck Norris parks his car in a no-parking zone to buy some groceries. When he returns to his car, he sees a cop standing there. "Is that your car?" he asks. "Yes, what's the problem?" asks Chuck. The cop points at the big no parking sign and says, "Sorry, sir, it looks like we put that sign in the wrong place." An Irishman is trying to find a parking space outside his local pub on a busy evening, but cannot find a single one. He looks skyward and says, "Lord, if you grant me this space, I'll come to church every Sunday like a good Catholic should." Lo and behold, a space opens up right in front of him, at which time he looks skyward again and says, "Never mind, I found one." A blind man went to a restaurant. "Menu, sir?" asked the owner. "I'm blind, just bring me one of your dirty forks, and I will smell it and order." The confused owner went to the kitchen to retrieve a fork and returned to the blind man. The blind man smelled the fork with a deep breath. "Yes, I will have the lamb with seasoned potatoes and spring vegetables." Unbelievable, thought the owner. The blind man ate and left. 2 weeks later the blind man returned. The owner, wanting to know how good his smell is, quickly went to the kitchen where his wife Brenda was cooking and said, "Do me a favor and rub this fork over your private part," which she did. He then goes to the blind man and gives him the fork. The blind man takes it and puts it to his nose and says, "Oh, interesting. I never knew Brenda worked here." An elderly couple was celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. They decided to recreate their first date and go to the same restaurant they went to when they were young. They ordered the same food, drank the same wine, and reminisced about their past. After the meal, the husband said to his wife, "Do you remember what we did after we left the restaurant?" The wife smiled and said, "Yes, we went to the park and made love under a tree." The husband said, "How about we do that again?" The wife agreed, and they walked to the park. As they reached the tree, the husband kissed his wife passionately and lifted her skirt. He was about to enter her when he heard a loud voice from above. "Hey, what are you doing down there?" It was a policeman who was patrolling the park. The husband quickly pulled his pants up and said, "Officer, we are just an old couple who wanted to relive our youth." The policeman said, "Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you can't do that here. This is a public park." The husband said, "But officer, we did this 60 years ago, and nobody stopped us." The policeman said, "That's because 60 years ago, this was not a park. It was a cemetery."